Hey everyone, Kevin here, and welcome back to my channel. Well, friends, it finally happened, and even though it wasn't in the least bit surprising, it's still horrifying nonetheless. We have a teacher certification scandal, and most educators should tell you that this was going to happen eventually, but of course, no one listened to our warnings. Like the one I put out in October of 2023 about the dangers of lowering qualifications. I'll link that video up here for you. But basically, in Houston, Texas, 5 administrators, including a coach and a couple of test proctors, have been arrested in connection with a $1 million scheme going back to the start of the pandemic, where they would complete teacher certification exams for those who couldn't pass them for a certain amount of money. The coach, for instance, would do it for $2,500 a person. And over the course of the last few years, over 200 people have now fraudulently obtained their teaching licensures and have been educating your students. Though officials are doing their best to ascertain who exactly cheated on their exams and immediately terminate their employment, the investigation has turned up the terrifying reality that two of those 200 are registered sex offenders and had unlimited access to minors as teachers. Amazing that those weren't caught by the mandatory background check either, huh? And for all we know right now, they assaulted students while on campus, and there are victims out there who haven't come forward yet. And you know what? This is why we have state credentialing requirements in the first place, to prevent such people from becoming educators. No, it's not a foolproof system, but it does a fairly decent job of keeping people out of the classroom who have no place being there. And worst of all, this continues to degrade what little trust is left in public education as a whole. These teachers have been in various classrooms for years now, people who weren't able to pass certification exams in the first place. Tests, mind you, that are there to verify you have the content, emotional intelligence, and managerial abilities to be an educator. That means those who cheated their way into becoming teachers are probably subject matter incompetent and don't know the content well enough to teach it. And as an aside, I've actually known a few teachers in my time who were like this, and I always questioned if they fraudulently obtained their credentials too. And plus, it also means that you have educators out there who cannot manage their classrooms and that probably are letting their kids get away with a lot of things because they lack the ability to hold their students accountable at a time where we already have a serious lack of both student and administrator accountability. And speaking of administrators, they're the ones who were the biggest part of this scandal, who either took the exams for others for a payout or who paid off proctors to do it for them. The candidates would sign in at testing centers, stay for a minute, and then leave. The proctors would then sit in their chairs and take the exams for them, sometimes even taking multiple exams at once. And the scam was brought to light when a coach who was applying to become a police officer felt guilty and exposed the scheme to officials who quickly noticed irregularities in this testing center's results after an audit. I mean, when you have literally hundreds of people who failed their exams multiple times elsewhere and then drove hours away to this one center in Houston only to miraculously pass, it kind of looks a bit suspicious, don't you think? But what led to all of this in the first place? Well, I think it's a fairly obvious thing. Beyond just simple greed, this scam started in or around May of 2020, which was a few months into the pandemic where we saw less oversight of everything to cope with needing to teach from home. Plus, it was a few months after the mass teacher exodus that started in January of 2020, leading to hundreds of open vacancies, which we are still dealing with now. Oh, yeah, and that's when we began lowering the standards to become a teacher in the first place as well. California used to be the most difficult place in the country to obtain a teaching license, and I remember just how long and difficult that process was. It was daunting with countless hundreds of pages of work and multiple exams, not to mention student teaching, just to get one. It's why states around the country try to recruit California educators at every job fair that I ever attended. But not anymore. So many of those exams and safeguards have been removed to hire new teachers to replace those who've left. I mean, education is suffering a serious teacher retention crisis right now, and somewhere around 1.5 million teachers have quit since the pandemic began. This has been repeatedly misidentified as a teacher shortage, which vastly mischaracterizes the problem, and my argument against the idea of a shortage was one of my earliest and still to this day one of my most watched videos on YouTube. The problem though is that lowering qualifications allows lower quality educators into the classroom. It makes it even easier for these kinds of certification scams to happen. Education is already dealing with a loss of faith from parents and society at large as it is, and discovering that their children are now being taught by people who have no idea what they're doing isn't really going to restore that faith, is it? They send their kids to get an education, one that they are mandated to get, mind you, yet find out that the people they entrust with doing that are cheaters, sexual predators, and people who literally would never have become teachers to begin with since they couldn't pass the basic exams to become one. When you treat good teachers poorly and they leave in response, maybe you should do some soul searching and change what's causing that retention crisis rather than just lowering qualifications and opening yourself up to these kinds of situations. Oh, but I forgot. They don't want to do that because policymakers and administrators like to slap band aids on gaping wounds rather than fixing them because they make more money keeping education the way it is. And I haven't even addressed my other concern with this cheating scandal anyway. Teachers already hate their administrators as it is, at least for the most part. It still remains one of my top, if not the main reason I quit teaching. We have social media administrators now who've never taught a day in their lives or were failed teachers and are more concerned with their image online and getting promotions than actually taking care of their staff or students. We burned out dealing with that kind of behavior for years on end, and now not only do you have bad teachers, but ones that these administrators actually have in their back pocket. They're literally beholden to them for their credential and job and can be blackmailed like a mom boss wanting protection money. So these teachers have to do whatever they say forever or run the risk of getting arrested. I don't know about you, but that makes me look at education as a failed institution that is increasingly more interested in maintaining what little power it has rather than creating the welcoming and safe learning environment that we're supposed to make. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. You wonder why so many of us have left and changed careers in the last 5 years. Teaching was a calling to us that rapidly turned into a nightmare. And every day I see articles like this that only serve to reinforce my decision to finally leave. But that's all for today. Well, guys, thanks for listening, and please don't forget to click like and subscribe to stay up to date with all of my content. It really helps get these videos noticed to a wider audience and hopefully one day lead to real change or reform. As always, I've been Kevin, and I will see you in the next video.